At Ritual, we know what goes into a magical holiday season: the potluck planning, the gift giving, the spreadsheets. This new year, take a moment for yourself with simple, daily rituals that help you put your foundational health at the top of your to do list. Rituals Essential for Women 18 Plus Multivitamin is a clinically backed multivitamin featuring 9 high quality key essential ingredients to help you fill key nutrient gaps in your diet. Or maybe you're stressing your daily protein intake, or you want to double down on support for your gut microbiome. From plant-based essential protein to 3-in-1 pre, pro, and postbiotic strains with Symbiotic Plus, Ritual helps you focus on supporting your body after a long season of juggling everybody else. And for a limited time, do it with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Well, Mike Fitzpatrick, you said that eventually, in truth, this ends up saving money. Cybersecurity ends up saving money in the long run. Well, there I am thinking alcohol again. In the long run. It's like the mechanic in the old, I think it was a Shell commercial where the mechanic says,
pay me now, pay me later.
You can pay me now or you can pay me later.
Well,
but you're going to pay
me.
Me.
Well, we had a mortgage company that we worked with from day one. We built their cybersecurity policies, their programs, did their initial assessments for 6 years. And one afternoon, I'm pumping gas and get a call from Dave, and he's going, "Hey, do you remember that cybersecurity assessment, the internal assessment that you wanted us to do?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I need to get that done." "Okay. So when do you need to have it done by, Dave?" "Tuesday." Now, it was Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And I said, it's been about a year since we had a look. And I know your environment's grown considerably over the last year. How many servers are we talking about now? He said, "Well, we've got 976 servers."
What?
I said, how many routers and switches do you have now?" "We have 400 of each." "Okay."
Yeah.
"How many firewalls?" "Well, we've got 4 firewalls, and we've got the new data center over in Arizona." And I said, "Okay." I said, what is going on? What's prompted this?" And he says, "We have an opportunity with a new bank to provide their loan service."
Oh,
money.
money.
And the auditor from the bank is coming on Wednesday, and we need to have the internal assessment done. So after I said, "Let me get back to you, talk to my team." We went through and we put together 3 two-man teams that ran a 24-hour shift going through and scanning and testing, writing, scanning and testing, writing, scanning and testing. And so Monday evening, we handed over to them their internal assessment for draft and final changes. We made those final changes Tuesday afternoon, and Wednesday morning, when the auditor arrived, they were able to go through the report, see how well they were doing, and then they approved them for the loan servicing business on a 10-year contract at, get this, BZ, $2 billion a year in service fees.
Okay. Stop. 2B with a B. This is a B. $2 billion. And this is not Dr. Evil here. $2 billion a year to you.
No, not to me, to the mortgage company.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
our client.
Okay.
To our client. So because of the work that they did in cybersecurity, because of the effort that they put into it, the real effort to really build a cybersecurity program within the operation, the bank felt comfortable enough to provide the business to them and have them be their loan servicing arm
okay, so
for home loans.
That was their landing the big fish, courtesy of
Correct.
you.
Correct, courtesy of the work that we've done. And those kinds of projects where we see them over time and we see them successful, quite frankly, that's the part that excites us. It excites us when they improve, when they start to get strong. We're really the coach. I mean, we're not the hero of the story. We're the Obi-Wan or the Gandalf of the story. You know, we're the guide along the way. We're the ones that help make the hero better.
Well, everyone has to have a percentile of job satisfaction, or they don't want to do the job in the first place. I got about 15 minutes left, and I saved the big dog for last. This is the biggest elephant in the room. This is the scariest elephant in the room, and I would like your thoughts on this. And it's come up recently, and it sounds remarkably similar to this.
Nations' intelligence agencies are warning of cyber threats from Russia and are urging U.S. critical infrastructure defenses to be reinforced. As CBS's Bill Whitaker reported on Sunday night's 60 Minutes, it wouldn't take much to throw the entire country into darkness.
The grid is a sprawling target. There are actually 3 in the U.S., the Eastern, Western, and Texas has its own. Most of us rarely notice substations. There are 55,000 across the country, each housing transformers, the workhorses of the grid. Inside these massive metal boxes, raw electricity is converted to higher or lower voltages. Should a transformer explode, like this one in Manhattan during Superstorm Sandy, the system is designed to trigger a localized grid-preserving blackout. But if several sections of the grid go down at the same time, the shutdowns can cascade like dominoes. That's what set off the Great Northeast Blackout in 2003, leaving 45 million Americans without power. A few months before the assault on Metcalf, John Wellinghoff of FERC commissioned a study to see if a physical attack on critical transformers could trigger cascading blackouts.
It was actually a very shocking result to us that there's a very few number of substations you need to take out in the entire United States to knock out the entire grid.
Listen to this.
Knock out the entire grid?
That's correct.
How many would it take to knock out putting the entire country in a blackout?
Less than 20.
And Bill Whitaker joins us now. So, Bill, just 20 substations to knock out the entire system? I mean, that's unbelievable. But your reporting is it could be even less than that.
That's right, Nora. That report was from 2013, and it actually found the number was even lower, 9. Taking out just 9 critical substations could black out the whole country. We were told by multiple sources that the number has not changed much, that less than 20 is a fair assessment.
Well, what can the government do or anybody do about this?
Spend money, and spend it on 2 things. 1, to increase the capacity of these high-powered transmission lines so you decrease their vulnerability to large-scale blackouts. That's already happening through the administration's new infrastructure bill. And 2, invest in better security. But that's not happening right now. Remember, the country's 3,000 power companies are in the business of selling electricity, not national security. And this last point is really important because the threat is real. Just last week, 3 white supremacists pleaded guilty to plotting to attack power grids throughout the country. And they had a plan to hit critical substations simultaneously to cause a massive blackout.
Quite scary. Bill Whitaker, thank you.
It's kind of interesting that they use the proverbial white supremacists. I don't want to talk about the physical security. We've had guys that have shot at transformers, blah, 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 blah. I'm interested in, you know that story. You've told that story before here. I'm interested in, number 1, what's the likelihood, in your estimation, of something similar to this occurring by way of a single actor, Russia, China, or perhaps in concert with a number of actors, pointedly targeting our infrastructure, specifically our power system, our power grid?
Well, let's look at it this way. Our greatest strength as a nation is our technology and what we're able to do and accomplish with technology. It's also our greatest Achilles heel.
Yep.
As well, so anything is possible. Whether it's a cyber attack or God forbid they launch 3 nukes, one off the East Coast, one out of the Gulf, and one off the West Coast. Mid-air explosion, the EMP will take out everything, and we're all back to the 1800s.
We've spoken about this briefly, and before the show, it entered into my brain housing group because I wasn't planning to ask this question, but I remembered something from the last time that you were here. You mentioned that hackers are odd little ducks, and they can take umbrage at the strangest things, and they're pretty tolerant of hacking until there's some little bit of criticality that pisses them off as an individual, and their hackles are raised, and they'll go into a defense mode. You gave a couple of examples of that. So if, for example, Mike Fitzpatrick, there was a concerted cyber attack, I don't know, let's say by Russia, are there white hats here in the U.S. or people kind of aligned with the U.S. who might take it upon themselves to try to divert or attack back at the original attacker? In other words, to try to help the U.S. Do people like that exist?
There are people that would probably do that. There's actually now corporations starting to embrace the idea of a hackback strategy. When they get hacked, their teams would be on the offensive and going back at the hackers that were attacking them. So it gets to be interesting because, in cyberspace, then you've just got all this, you've got all out war in cyberspace, and there's no rules to it at all. Anything goes. So to your point, based upon the hackers that I've met with and those that practice the art form, a lot of it seems to be agenda driven from a personality standpoint, what their interests are, what they think is right, what they think is wrong, and a hackback kind of approach. One of the things that Zelensky in Ukraine is doing, he is really trying to muster a cyber army to strike back at Russia. So it's interesting to see how that will play because it's never been done before.
But wouldn't you suspect that there would be sympathizers who would want to get on board with him simply because now he's perceived as the underdog on the global stage?
It wouldn't surprise me a bit, BZ. Now, but we hear of it, but we're not necessarily seeing proof of it.
Okay.
To it, so I want to try to stay with what we're actually seeing and what is actually going on, because a lot of times the truth is definitely more interesting than the theater of the mind on this kind of thing.
This reminds me, speaking of theater of the mind, one of the things I want to do when I come back is I want to sit down with you and discuss your interactions with hackers, because I bet there are some weird turtles out there that in and of themselves are pretty interesting little units. And I think it'd be fascinating. It'd be a fascinating topic for a show. And I bet you got a lot of insight about that.
Let's do it.
Okay, when I come back, by God, let's do it. Let me ask this. I only got time for about 2 or 3 more questions before we wrap.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Wrap up the show. In terms of cyber attacks, who are the most effective nations? Russia, China, North Korea.
They're each different in their own ways. Probably about 15 years ago, we started seeing, through our managed services group, we started seeing China start to map electronic assets here in the United States. And when I mean map, they are basically, we're searching for every network that they could find, regardless of what the business is, what it does. There was no rhyme or reason. It just seemed to be a gathering of reconnaissance. I reached out to a friend of mine in the FBI cybercrime unit and asked the question. He says, yeah, every day, that's what's going on. Now, we don't see that necessarily with Russia as much. They're more of a asymmetrical warfare group that finds targets, recons targets, and attacks targets. It's not as methodical as the Chinese. The Chinese cyber army is 1 million people.
That number is astounding in and of itself.
I don't even know that we have that many IT people. So it's a staggering number that they have just on the cyber side. Our guys on the Air Force, the cyber threat hunters within the Air Force, and the security people, cybersecurity people within the Air Force, which is where our cyber teams are, they are fantastic. They are some of the best and most intelligent people I've ever met. As far as the hackers are concerned, my favorite hacker story is when I was at DEF CON, which is the hackers conference in Las Vegas.
And they'll let you go. They'll let you go in.
It's you got silly games. The early days of this were far more fun than they are today, in my opinion. Today it's too corporate. But yes, hackers are there. Yes. Are there cybersecurity professionals there? Yes. Are there feds there? Yes. Matter of fact, they used to play a game called Spot the Fed.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there at a press conference being held by EFF, which is, kind of the ACLU of digital civil liberties without the political bent of the ACLU.
Electrical Frontiers Foundation, something like that?
Yes. Electronic Frontiers Foundation. And great group, Fight the Good Fight. And they were there talking about, a gag order that was put upon some research related to how hackable Boston's mass transit system is. And they were supposed to present at DEF CON and Black Hat, which is the corporate conference at the same time. And myself and one of my guys were sitting there listening to this. And this dude that's clearly a hacker shows up in combat boots, fatigues, black T-shirt. He reaches into his thigh pocket and he pulls out, a bottle of Jack Daniel.
Okay.
And he's got a 7-Up. And he pours it in. He's got his mixer. then he looks over at us and he offers us the ball. You guys want to tug?
Sure.
So it's one of those kinds of conferences. I love DEF CON because there's really no rules. I love the fact that I'm able to attend a lock picking class and how to actually pick locks and be efficient at it. That there's other classes on how to manipulate electromagnetic locks. It's astounding, some of the information and the detail that is presented at these conferences. The first quad rotor drone I ever saw in my life was at DEF CON, and it had to be snuck into the country by two hackers out of France.
Wow.
So it's an interesting group of people that push the boundaries in so many ways. And again, they have different perspectives, different opinions. That particular DEF CON conference that I'm talking about, one of the greatest hacks I've ever seen in my life happened that weekend. Group of hackers roll in an ATM machine.
An ATM machine into the big conference room.
Into the casino at the Riviera. They place it where there are no security cameras. And guess where that might be? Right in front of the security office.
Okay.
So the machine dispenses cash for a period of time, and then it runs out of cash. Meanwhile, it continues to skim credit cards. And on the back end, the hackers are now getting all the credit cards with PIN numbers, and now they're going back through and emptying bank accounts afterwards.
Oh, they do that.
But it was done right under the nose of security at the Riviera Hotel.
Well, that's a huge problem in California. Skimmers at gas stations.
Yep. I've started, quite frankly, using Apple Pay at the gas station. It's a one-time pad. It's a one-time code. It's probably the most secure thing you can do at a gas station is use your cashless payment through your phone. Probably the most secure these days.
I got to wrap it up, but for your time, well, a couple of things. I think I will probably, and I should know tomorrow whether or not Scott Brown is definitely going to be here this coming Tuesday. If Scott is there Tuesday, I'm going to see if Lonnie is clear and available for Thursday, the 17th. So if Lonnie is available for the final show on the 17th, if I haven't wrapped up this place yet, would you be interested in coming back for the final California show if I can pull it off on the 17th?
St. Patrick's Day with you and Lonnie Poindexter, and I imagine there would be some brown liquor involved.
Is that what that is? Oh, that's St. Patty's Day. I didn't know. Okay. Well, yeah.
So I if that's the case, absolutely. If we're not able to pull it off, California with a K will miss you. But you are headed to greener pastures in a free state.
Yeah, and I'm not going away. People will still be able to hear me.
Even though you will be out there in the cold, crisp air of Idaho, those of us that are left behind here will miss you. We'll continue the fight, but, congratulations on the move and the change of scenery. And can't wait to hear about the reports from the new place.
Well, thank you very much. Before we go, Mike Fitzpatrick, tell folks what you are CEO of and what you guys do and where you can be found if they need to get in touch with you.
Okay, so CEO and founder of NCX Group. You can find us at ncxgroup.com. That's our website, and that's probably the best and easiest place to get in touch with us. and look forward to helping anybody that we can from a cybersecurity perspective.
Excellent. Mike Fitzpatrick, thank you ever so kindly, sir, and thank you for being here tonight. We'll try for the 17th, but we're going to have to play it by ear.
You got it, BZ. Thanks a lot. Be well. Take care.
All righty. Thank you kindly, sir. I'd like to talk very briefly. Well, no, I'm not going to talk briefly. I'm going to let this guy tell you what he thinks of America for about a minute and a half or so. This is a guy speaking from the heart. Just a blue-collar kind of guy who probably has more smarts in his head than 90% of the dolts in D.C.
I just wanted to get your thoughts on the whole Russia and Ukraine situation.
You know, here's my first thought is I'm not going nowhere to fight none of these wars for these politicians. I'm staying at home, and when the war comes to Arkansas, I will dig my boots in the ground, and I will die for everything I love, and I will not retreat. If this country's invaded and everybody's saying, well, we gotta evacuate, we gotta leave, I will not. I will dig my boots in the Arkansas soil, and I will fight for the people that I love, for the land that I love, and the way of life that I love. But I'm not going overseas to fight. I don't know what's going on, to be honest, brother. I really don't. There's so much stuff, and I don't think nobody knows what's going on fully. There's been so much political corruption in that area. You got Biden and his son making a shit ton of money off of and using our tax dollars to bribe their people. That's treasonous, in my opinion. So you got Hunter Biden and his son using our tax dollars. Hey, if Ukrainian government, if you don't do this, we're taking your tax dollars. He shouldn't be giving our tax dollars to that country anyway. We got veterans out here sleeping on the street, and you're going to give our freaking tax dollars to these Ukrainians and all. Brother, I don't know what's going on over there, but I'm not going over there and fighting, and God bless anybody that's over there fighting, and I hope that the shit just gets solved. And, man, I don't like war. You know what I mean? I don't want people dying and all that stuff. I don't want to be, but I don't know what's going on. There's so much stuff that I think that's corrupted that we just don't know what's truly going on over there. And I pray all those people are safe.
Smart guy. Well, that's it. One of the last shows here in California. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP at BZEP. And promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. Tiaras are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be, in fact, consorting 10 minutes or so. Thanks to Mike Fitzpatrick for being here. Thanks to you for listening live and also in podcast. I started the show in January of 2017 for SHR. That's a long time ago, relatively speaking. I'm not going away. I'm just changing locales. SHR will be here, and I will be here, and I'll be here Tuesday night, next week, hopefully Thursday. Everybody, God bless, take care, be safe. God bless America.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night and good luck.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.